Recently, there's been quite a profound change in the way people are using AI. And while it's incredibly simple, it's also incredibly effective. The core idea behind it is instead of every time you ask ChatGPT or Claude to do something, you start from scratch and define the process as you go. You basically capture what already works, processes and workflows you've already done, and you store them as skills and reusable workflows. And maybe it's not immediately obvious why this is such a big deal, but I will get into that in a second. But rather than some long theoretical explanation, I'll really just get into what a skill is and why they're so powerful. So within Claude, they have a capability section where you can build reusable workflows and reusable interfaces. So for example, this is the interface I have created for building Gantt charts. And under the skill MD, which is like a system prompt, it has a process that I want Claude to follow every time I build a Gantt chart. So within a Claude project where I've given it as context all my production rates, activity templates, and project information, I said to it, can you please create a project schedule for this project using my Gantt chart skill builder, making any reasonable assumptions about missing information? Then it has gone forward and actually built my Gantt chart format. Claude has then gone ahead and built me a Gantt chart for this project in the format I want. It is an editable user interface. I can change the activity relationships. I can change activity start and finish dates. I can update progress. Basically, it has captured a couple of features I want. Now, the reason this is so beautiful and such a good way of doing things is every time I create a Gantt chart, it's going to do this in the exact format that I want it to. I could create a new project, say another day, I have a new set of documentation. It creates the Gantt chart in the same format, following the same pattern. Again, my way of building Gantt charts. So you could just prompt Claude without having a Gantt chart skill to go ahead and build a Gantt chart. But there's several problems you'll run into with doing this. And some of them are surface level obvious. Some of them are a bit more nuanced. So number one, which is not an immediate surface level problem, is context right. Context right is basically the more you ask a large language model like Claude or ChatGPT to do, the less accurate it will become, the bigger the chance of hallucination. So if you have a long conversation, maybe this is actually something you've observed, where you have a really long chat with Claude or ChatGPT, the more information that is going into that chat, the less accurate it will get. And context rot is actually a huge problem for large language models, and there's a lot of research going into solving this problem, but it is basically very, very challenging to overcome. So if you open a brand new chat in Claude or ChatGPT and say, build me a Gantt chart for my project, Claude actually has to go through and do a lot of reasoning. It has to decide what format you want the Gantt chart in, what's the output, what's the data structure. It's got to determine, is there a way to create a Gantt chart with code? Maybe it has to search on the internet for a specific Gantt chart library for creating the user interface. It has to think about your data logic, whether you want to include weekends, public holidays. There's all these decisions behind the scene. And as Claude's going through is making those decisions, the number of tokens, which is basically a measure of how much context it's using, is exponentially increasing, which actually means by the time it's looking at your documents and building the schedule, it's actually used a whole lot of its reasoning ability to actually build from scratch a Gantt chart. So every decision it's making is consuming more and more of these valuable tokens. And there's the obvious problem that as it uses more tokens, it actually costs you more money. So when you use the skill approach, Claude has already developed a workflow of how to build a Gantt chart. So all it is doing is it's needing to identify the user wants to build a Gantt chart. I'm going to go ahead and look at the Gantt chart skill. So if you want to access they're called capabilities or skills. On their settings, it's under capabilities, but when you actually look at it, it's under skills. I don't know why they don't use the same terminology, but point aside, under this Gantt chart skill, Claude already has code it can just run to create my Gantt chart. So all it actually has to do is look at my documents, call this Gantt chart skill, and populate the template. So the actual reasoning, the valuable tokens we're going to use to process the reasoning, all of it is actually going to solving the problem we care about, which is building an accurate schedule. It already has a user interface. It has already written code to represent our schedule. None of that has to be consumed again. The actual reasoning is doing what we care about, which is building an accurate schedule. The skill MD file is explicitly telling it how to actually go ahead and populate this template. And it's telling us it's telling Claude, these are the bits of data you have to prepare. And then you just send them to this set of code. It runs it and it produces our Gantt chart. Long story short, you use way less tokens, which again, if we go back to this diagram of context, right, is actually increasing the accuracy of the task at a lower cost. Now, the other thing that is really good about this, which is much more obvious and much more surface level, is every time you create a Gantt chart, it does it in the exact same format. Now, maybe this isn't a big problem with Gantt charts because a Gantt chart is a universally understood term. All Gantt charts effectively look the same. But this is actually way more obvious when we want it to do something more customizable to our processes. Say we want it to take our project information and build a dashboard. So I want to show you an example where the output format probably matters a little bit more. And so this is using Claude Cowork, which if you haven't tried it is absolutely awesome. But what it is, it's basically like setting Claude up in a desktop folder and it can read all your documents and read and write to them. So what I did here is I opened Claude Cowork in a folder with project data. It had my cost report, program, RFI register, and safety incidents. Now, I didn't use the Claude skills for this. I replicated the process by having a dashboard workflow document within there, which basically is a text file that specifies how I want Claude to build my dashboard. Then it went ahead and it built my dashboard in the exact format that I want. It has a section for cost, RFIs, safety and program variations. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be your exact format. You could develop this workflow.md file that is built around your format. So for example, you take a dashboard that you've previously done and you describe your process for creating it. You develop a workflow.md file that says how you want it to extract your data, what format you want it to put it in. And again, Claude is giving you the output in your format because it doesn't have to develop the format from scratch. So you're not dealing with this output roulette where every time you get it to create a project dashboard, it's giving you a slightly different format that you have to chop and change, and it's just annoying. So capturing the template output format in your exact structure that you wanted it. Now, problem 3 really isn't separate from problem 1 or 2. It's the combination of them. But you have to really remember what these large language models are. They're not intelligent in the way we are intelligent. They basically memorized all the data on the internet and they're giving us reproductions of their training data based on the prompt we have given them. The term I've heard, which I think works really well, is they are stochastic parrots. They memorize stuff you tell them and then they just spit it out in different formats. So using skills, we are again taking advantage of the limited context window and we are basically working out what we want the large language model to do. Then we're telling it not to reason from scratch, to derive the process, to work out all this stuff at once. All we're saying is go grab this skill, go grab this data and put it in this format. They're not, like large language models aren't super intelligent. Well, I guess it depends how you think of the word intelligence, which I guess is completely irrelevant to the point I'm trying to make. But really anything that you can do that leverages what these models are good at, which is repeating what they've previously been told, capturing this in a skill and then referring to the skill is going to drastically improve the quality of the outputs you get. So the last thing I want to say and the last thing I want to explain is just basically what a skill actually is. So I think of a skill as 3 parts. You have a workflow, the steps to follow. So for example, I want to build a Gantt chart. A Gantt chart is taking the project scope, turning it into a work breakdown structure, estimating activity durations, putting those in a sequence that reflects the construction program. That is the workflow. So that would typically be captured in a workflow.md file or a skill, which is more or less a system prompt. It's just the specific prompt that instead of the large language model deriving how it does the task, it just refers to that pre-built prompt. The next thing is you have the template. The template is the output format. So for the Gantt chart, that was that section of code that it runs to build a Gantt chart. For the project dashboard, that was our template project dashboard. That is constraining the output. Within the skill, we would have the workflow, which tells it how to do it. Then we have a template and example output. And then part 3 of this is the data to do the process. Now, a lot of the criticisms I've heard of large language models is, and the examples people give me are, they've asked ChatGPT to do an estimate and it was completely different to the estimate you did. Well, that's just the wrong way to think about what these large language models are good at. Again, they're parrots. They will repeat information back to you. The more and more you can break a process down into understanding the data that goes into it, the less variability you're going to get in the output. If you ask ChatGPT, what is my production rate from formwork? Again, it's a model that is being trained on all the data on the internet. It's going to give you a really random result that is different to yours. But if you link to your ChatGPT or Claude a database with all your production rates, it can just search your database. So as much as you can give it the data to do the task, again, you're going to get drastically better outputs from it. And that is the other thing you should capture in a skill. You could either have that in the actual skill itself, so build the data into the skill, or you could use a connector and in the skill say, use my data, here is where my data is located. So lots of different ways you can do that, but basically a skill should be the workflow, the steps you follow, a template output, including an example, and the data to do the task, whether the location where that data is saved in Airtable, Excel, whatever you want, or including the actual data in the skill file.